Hey everyone, Oscar Roca here with another Please Be Still Moments blog post. If you know anybody, especially the men and women, you can listen to this podcast. You can watch it, the videos. You can get on Rumble and YouTube, whatever your favorite social media outlet is. I also have a Spotify account that it is very spotty. I may have to start right from the get-go, right from the beginning, and then just link up my old studies into the new Spotify account. I've tried and it has not worked. Either way, if you know anyone who will be encouraged by this, please pass this on, specifically men, but women, you are not excluded. You can listen and glean off of this because I'm talking to the men. I'm going to be a little more straightforward than I usually am with the general public. And today, especially today, there will be some tough things and some very truthful material that may not be politically correct, but it is truthful. It is not disheartening. It is not gross, or I'm not making it something that is distorted. I am giving you facts of what's going on in today's modern society and what men and how men and why men need to learn biblical values, biblical scriptures, because the way this world has been going, it is not going well. Anyway, you just pass it on, please. And your husband, your son, your nephew, your uncles, your dads will get encouraged by this. I use the eSword app for Mac. They do not pay me to use this. I use the Blue Letter Bible. They don't sponsor me, or Bible Hub. I just love the fact that everything is right there for people, for anyone to get into the internet and be able to break God's word, God's scripture, just the Old Testament, New Testament, Hebrew scriptures, Greek scriptures, written by both Jews, you name them. And there's certain spots that are written by Gentiles, which is wonderful to see. And the whole history of Earth is there. I know people will not believe that, but that is the truth. Anyway, I use all these apps. eSword I do have for Mac, and it is wonderful. I've added quite a few things. I'm in Hosea, and I've asked you to, if you have not, please pause the video or the audio. And if you are driving, I'm gonna make it fast. I'm gonna read through this fast. But if you're driving or you're not at home, I would highly suggest that you go back and reread Hosea. All of Hosea. It's a short read, and it is something that is almost in correlation, in parallel living in modern times. You take any Western country, and this is what's going on. Well, Hosea 4:1, the Lord accuses Israel. What does he accuse them of? Very quickly, he accuses them of leaving their first love, which is him, leaving their first love and the scriptures, because if you don't know scriptures, and this is why it's so important for us to read scriptures no matter what, and for you, the listener, or those that are listening or watching this, for you not to take everything that I say as truth. I want you to break the studies up. I want you to break the Word of God up, and I want you to know that whenever I'm saying something, it is in scriptures. Hosea chapter 4, verse 1, listen to the Lord's message, you Israelites, for the Lord has a covenant lawsuit against the people of Israel, for there is neither faithfulness nor loyalty in the land, nor do they acknowledge God. Verse 2, there is only cursing, lying, murder, stealing, and adultery. They resort to violence and bloodshed. Doesn't that sound familiar nowadays? Verse 3, therefore the land will mourn, and all its inhabitants will perish. The wild animals, the birds of the sky, and even the fish of the sea will perish. Verse 4, do not let anyone accuse or contend against anyone else, for my case is against you, priests. Let me repeat that. Verse 4, do not let anyone accuse or contend against anyone else, for my case is against you, priests. The priests were the political, the spiritual, everything leadership in Israel and Judah. Today, it would be, God would be talking not only to the Pope, not only to the senior pastors of every church, but also the leadership of each country. For my sake, this country, the United States, he's talking to the politicians there. Verse 5, you stumble day and night, and the false prophets stumble with you. You have destroyed your own people. Verse 6, you have destroyed my people by failing to acknowledge me. Because you refuse to acknowledge me, I will reject you as my priests. Because you reject the law of your God, I will reject your descendants. The more the priests increase in numbers, the more they rebelled against me. They have turned their glorious calling into a shameful disgrace. Sound familiar? They feed on the sin offerings of my people. Their appetites long for their iniquity. I will deal with the people and priests together. I will punish them for their ways, and I will repay them for their deeds. They will eat but not be satisfied. They will engage in prostitution but not increase in numbers, because they have abandoned the Lord by pursuing other gods. There it is. God was angry at Israel and Judah in the future of Judah, because they had left God. They had left their faith. Old and new wine take away the understanding of my people. They consult their wooden idols, and their diviner's staff answers with an oracle. The wind of prostitution blows them astray. They commit spiritual adultery against their God. They sacrifice on the mountaintops and burn offerings on the hills. They sacrifice under oak, poplar, and terebinth, because their shade is so pleasant. As a result, your daughters have become cult prostitutes. I'll talk a little bit about that. And your daughters-in-law commit adultery. I will not punish your daughters when they commit prostitution, nor your daughters-in-law when they commit adultery. For the men consort with harlots. They sacrifice with temple prostitutes. It is true. A people that lacks understanding will come to ruin. The United States is right there. Canada is right there. The West is right there. Although you, O Israel, commit adultery, do not let Judah become guilty. Do not journey to Gilgal. Do not go up to Beth Aven. Do not swear as surely as the Lord lives. Israel has rebelled like a stubborn heifer. Soon the Lord will put them out to pasture like a lamb in a broad field. Ephraim has attached himself to idols. Do not go near him. They consume their alcohol. They engage in cult prostitution. They dearly love their shameful behavior. Verse 19, a whirlwind has wrapped them in its wings. They will be brought to shame because of their idolatrous worship. It goes on. It stops right there. Really quick, just to outline what he was saying, God, and what Hosea was penning down or writing down, is God gave his people over to these passions of going after other gods. He allowed it to happen because they were not there. They were not there physically, mentally, and spiritually. And disregard the movement there. I read it really quick, and what they did is they started going back. They started backsliding. They started going to other religions. They started going to the other faiths other than what the true God of Israel did. They forgot what God did. Can you imagine this? The only way I can think of this is, imagine being in the wilderness. Imagine going through and you see an ocean, and then the God of Israel, the God of the Bible, opens up an open passageway through this canal, the Suez Canal or whatever canal it was. You go in and you see this. Your great-grandfather sees this, your great-grandmother, your great-great-great-grandparents, and they mess up. They do not tell their kids. Number one, to become a made-up man, and I'm not making this up, this society is going to say, oh, a made-up man, good looking, you fix your eyebrows, you fix your nose hairs, you shave well, you get, a little tuck here, muscle here and there. That's not what I'm talking about. A made-up man spiritually, part 1 of actually part 4.1, that's what I meant. A made-up man is someone whom God has made up, transformed, reformed, regenerated, And you've heard people say that nutrition makes a person. You've heard others say that research and reading books make up a person. I've also heard that clothes make a man, but what is a made up man? What does it consist of? We hear it all the time. It's not what you think spiritually. Do we one day just become who we are? Not only mentally, physically, but spiritually. What is brought in to your body, what is brought in as you eat, as you take care of your body, is what will manifest itself after. I was drinking a lot of water, and this is my theory. I was drinking a lot of water. I was an outside sales rep before I went full time in ministry, and I would carry cases of water that would be left in the back of my van. My van. I was a territory guy. I would drive all over the place. During the summer, even during the winter and mild, springs here, it gets hot in Southern California. And my theory is that whatever I was intaking of water, every time I would drink water, every time I would get a bottle and go, I would be ingesting particles that were already glued on, cemented on from the heat into my water. Therefore, carcinoma, renal carcinoma, or kidney cancer. In 2011, this renal carcinoma or kidney cancer was one of the tumors, the main tumor in the kidney, which now I'm finding out that we had these little cells that kind of survived. But this main tumor, the one that they were worried about, the one that they saw, it was encapsulated. When they took it out, it was like an eggshell. It didn't go anywhere. But I made sure that they took that out. 13 years later, these little renal carcinoma cells went all over my body. We don't know, how far and wide, but we do know that it went to my right arm and it went to my lungs. My right arm has been taken care of. So far, so good. Thank God for that. My lungs, this is where I'm at right now. And I'm going to tell you something. Whatever I ingested between 1998 and 2011 is what caused this cancer. Food too, nutrition. They are killing us with the nutrition that they have for us. So we don't one day just wake up and something happens. The body will manifest itself after so much time. Whatever comes into your mind also makes you the man you are, or woman. So how do we remake ourselves to be part of something bigger than us? Where does God come into the picture in your lives? This is what I want to convey to you. If you are listening to this, whether you're a man or woman, where is God in your life? Where if you had a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the weakest, 10 being the strongest, is your commitment to God, or is God even in the picture? Are you a 0 with God? So how can we change our old ways and make the new ways come out? Because the most important thing is a made-up person, a made-up man has to be spiritual first. In the book of Hosea, you see the poor prophet has to deal with his wife, who is a prostitute. Her adulterous ways were inculcated early on. And how do I know this? Again, she just didn't wake up one day and say, hey, I'm going to go roam the streets and I'm going to find lovers and they're going to pay me, right? That's not how it works. So a made-up man, how do we get back to becoming better people spiritually? GIGO, GIGO, garbage in, garbage out, because people don't just up and do things. The things that manifest in us has been laying a foundation, a brick by brick by brick by brick, cement by cement by cement, good cement foundation or a bad cement foundation. Again, either good things or evil things. It depends. In my last couple of videos, I said that the story of it's a Cherokee myth, but they attribute it to Crazy Horse, and they asked, hey, how. The moral of the story was, which dog are you feeding? Because we have two dogs inside of us, a black dog, a white dog, an evil dog, a good dog. Whatever you are feeding, that whichever dog it is that you're feeding is going to come out. So the Israelites during that time of Hosea were stubborn. They were rebellious, sinful. They had walked away from God. Their backsliding was full on, and they didn't even care. Now, backsliding, for those of you that are Christian, backsliding, for you that are Christian, you know what backsliding is. For those of you that don't know what backsliding is not when you're backsliding, somebody's pulling you and you're backsliding. No, it's when you fully make a stop and you say, I am not going to continue moving. I'm not going to continue growing spiritually. I'm not going to continue doing anything because I'm tired and I'm just going to sit here. That is a type of backsliding. Now, Israel didn't care. There was no vision in Israel anymore during that time. They were committing full-on wickedness. No one was faithful to Yahweh or Jehovah or Yahuwah. I am sure that there was a small remnant that was faithful, because there always is. But for the most part, God was beginning the judgment. He tells Hosea to go and bring back his unfaithful wife, Gomer. She was, again, a hooker. And Hosea had to bring her back to his house and take care of her and tell her, do not go doing the things that you were doing before. That God doesn't want you to do that, and I'm going to make sure. This symbolized what God was trying to show through Hosea's actions towards Israel, his unfaithful people who were into the new religions and the new sensations and the new hedonistic stuff, like what's going on now in today's Western world, especially the United States, Western Europe, and Canada and Latin America. God was giving them a last chance to come back to him, and it seemed that the accumulation of the garbage in and garbage out living was too much for those living in Israel during that dark time. We are living in dark times. I personally did this one. I didn't have to put Sodom and Gomorrah for you to know. First thing that people will see is their horns or chains. Either way, what we witnessed. Does this sound familiar? What we witnessed in these opening ceremonies, the in-your-face garbage we saw in the opening ceremonies of the Olympics, what should have been a non-political, non-religious world event, non-sexual, non-anything, turned into something that was straight out of a dark, dystopian, and mental garbage forced into our faces. It is like living in modern Sodom and Gomorrah, and you don't even know it. There was a little young child who was either a girl or boy, long hair, and she was right in front, or he was just right in front. And there was a guy in back. There were all these people they were trying to do, and I know Christians, I'm going to tell you something. I am not offended by these people. If it was the Last Supper, whether it was the Last Supper, I've done my studies, and I'm going to tell you something. For those of you that may not know, the Greeks, when Paul tells the Corinthian church, hey, guys, do not offer food sacrificed to idols because you are eating and you are sacrificing to demons. Okay, so Paul's explaining this to the Corinthians. I do not have to explain that to anybody here. I will say that whether it was the Last Supper or whether it was a Greek version of those festivals that they would go into cemeteries, and these foods that were given to idols, they were basically what, believe it or not, what Mexicans do right now. And I know I've got some Mexican family, they're going to hate me for saying this. This is what's going on in the Orient with the Asian countries that honor their descendants. In Mexico, we have a once-a-year deal where people will celebrate the Day of the Dead. Sounds wonderful, but what they're doing, it's all Native American stuff, and it's also all First Corinthian stuff, or the Corinthian church where they would, or the Roman Empire, where they would offer food sacrificed to idols and take it down to their dead loved ones, and they would sit there and they would just party like it was 1999. Okay, so this is what we saw in the opening ceremonies. So Imagine that in your face, garbage in, garbage out stuff that we saw in what was supposed to be an incredible event of human discipline. I ran track when I was in middle school. I played all kinds of sports when I was in middle school and elementary school and high school. And I'm going to tell you something, the discipline needed and the discipline deserved for these Olympics was not shown because of this ugliness that was shown in the opening ceremony by a ruling body that, like the Israelites during Hosea's day, have lost their way in vision. It was like seeing a 1980s horror flick about Satanists and asylum patients being in charge of the Olympics. One thing I will say, that my morality is not being pushed on anyone. I'm going to tell you that right now, and that's what I was getting to. I don't get offended by people that don't know God, who act like heathens, like the heathen Greeks, if it was a Greek festival of a Greek feast, sacrifice to idols, or if it was the Last Supper. I didn't get angry at that. What I got angry at, and I'm going to tell you what I was fuming, it was that there was a little kid